Welcome to CQ Blind Hams, your source for everything amateur related, tutorials, radio reviews, and so much more. Come on in and stay a while.
Radio Oddity GD77 Open GD77 Instructions for the Sight Impaired by DJ0HF version 2.0, 8th of the 6th, 2020. Hi, if you're a blind ham, you may never have considered using the Radio Oddity GD77 as a DMR/FM handy, because you need to be able to see the screen. But that has all changed, thanks to some very clever new firmware from Roger VK3KYY supported by Daniel F1RMB called Open GD77, which now includes both voice prompts and beep signals for the blind ham to make it very usable. I know that you'd like to be able to do everything yourself, including uploading the new firmware and voice prompts, creating a code plug and uploading it, as well as using the radio without sighted help. So I've tried to produce a package of files which you can use, and if you follow the instructions really carefully, you can do it without the assistance of a sighted person. Obviously everyone's computer is slightly different, but I've tried to make the instructions as generic as possible using a Windows 10 computer. I can give you step-by-step instructions for everything you need to do with the GD77. But first, you need to do some basic Windows computer stuff. And everyone does things slightly differently, so I'll just have to try my best to guide you through it and hope that I succeed. I try to keep one action per line to help make it easier for your screen reader. If you're really comfortable with doing computer things, then here are the quick instructions. Select the link at the bottom of this web page and download the zip file called Open GD77BH. In the zip file is a single folder, GD77BH. That's GD77 for blind hams. Extract this folder to your desktop. Then locate the file 1 installing the CPS PDF or 1 installing the CPS MP3 that can be found in the folder, and away you go. But before you do that, I ask you to go to the Please Read comments at the bottom of this web page and read them. For those less skilled at computer things, I'll do my best, but there are so many browsers and computer configurations that I can't cover every case, but I have made the instructions as robust as I can. Things get easier once you get into using the CPS program to set up your GD77, as we have more control. Unfortunately, not all browsers work in the same way, so the instructions for Firefox are different from the instructions for Edge and Chrome, the three browsers I've tried it with. First Edge, which is the standard browser for Windows 10 or Chrome, and it should work for both versions of Edge. For Edge and Chrome, tab until you find the link Open GD77BH at the bottom of this web page. Then, when you are focused on the Open GD77BH link, you just need to hit Enter to start the download. Wait until your screen reader gives you the download complete message, but ignore all the screen reader hints. Now you need to hit Tab twice, and then hit Enter. And then continue by going down this page to the section Continue for both Firefox and Edge. Instructions for Firefox. Tab twice and you should be on the link Open GD77BH at the bottom of this web page. And when your focus is on the download link, then hit Enter. A new window will appear with two radio buttons. You need to be on the Open With radio button. So if your screen reader says you are on the Save option, then hit Cursor up so that Open With is selected. Then normally, the Windows Explorer will automatically be the default option in the combo box, and you just need to tab twice to reach the OK button. It's unlikely, but if you have added programs to your combo box and you are not sure that Windows Explorer is selected, then you'll need to tab and then use the up and down cursor keys to locate Windows Explorer and then hit Enter followed by tab twice to get to the OK button. Now that you're on the OK button, just hit Enter to begin the extraction. Continue for both Firefox and Edge/Chrome. After a short delay for the download to complete, depends on your internet speed, Windows Explorer opens and hit the spacebar to select the GD77BH folder. Then hold the Control key and type C for Charlie. Now hold the alternate key and hit the cursor up 2 times. Now hit D until you are focused on the desktop. If you can't find the desktop, try holding the alternate key and hitting cursor up 2 more times, and then start hitting D again. And then when you have located the desktop folder, hit Enter, and then hold the Control key and hit V for Victor. The folder containing everything you need is now on your desktop, so hold the alternate key and hit F4 to close Windows Explorer, and then hold the alternate key again and hit F4 again to close your browser. You have now completed the most difficult part, as there are so many possible browser and computer configurations. But you now have the GD77BH folder on your desktop, which is what we needed to do. Everybody, please read. In all the rest of the instructions, we are going to be putting the CPS program on your computer and uploading new firmware, code plug and voice prompts to your GD77. Remember, all of this has been developed by enthusiastic amateurs in their free time, so it's offered without any guarantees. And although large numbers of amateurs are using Open GD77, you carry out the procedures at your own risk. This package has been created by me, Ian Spencer, DJ0HF, but the software and firmware is the work of Roger VK3KYY, supported by Daniel F1FRM, and these instructions would not have been possible but for the unstinting support of Gina M0EBP. This package may be freely distributed but not modified in any way without my permission. These instructions are very detailed, and you may have enough experience not to need such detailed instructions. But remember, they've been written so someone with limited computer knowledge can hopefully achieve success, provided they follow the instructions really carefully. So it's time to set the focus on your desktop, and type G for George until the focus is on the folder GD77BH, and then hit Enter. You now have a list of all the files you will need to configure your GD77. Go down the list and you'll find all the instruction PDFs and MP3s, and you can take your next step of installing the CPS program. To do this, start reading 1. Installing the PDF, or listening to 1. Installing the CPS MP3. 73s from me, Ian DJ0HF /G3ULO, and I can be reached at dj0hf@spencerweb.net. Radio Oddity GD77 Open GD77 instructions for the sight impaired by DJ0HF version 2.0, 8th of the 6th, 2020. Installing the CPS program. Although these instructions are for the GD77, there are versions of the Open GD77 firmware available not only for the Radio Oddity GD77, but also for the GD77S, Baofeng DM1801, and RD-5R handheld DMR/FM transceivers. Whenever a major change occurs to Open GD77, the new files will be added to this package, and the version number and date will change. However, if your GD77 is working fine, then do you really need to update to the latest version? Everyone must decide for themselves. Open GD77 has a very wide range of functions, but I want to concentrate here on the most useful and easy to use functions for the blind ham in Open GD77. Like all DMR radios, you'll need to create and upload a code plug to the GD77, but unlike standard DMR code plugs, you only need one channel for each repeater or hotspot. So if you are using a hotspot, you may only need one channel that you want to use, and you specify the talk groups you want to use completely separately. This means you can change the channel, that is the repeater or hotspot you want selected, using the up and down keys on the keypad of the GD77, and also select any talk group you want to use with the right and left keys on the keypad. And even if you do not have the talk group that you want to use in the code plug, you can manually enter it from the keypad. Also, if you hear someone who is not on the talk group you have selected, then one key press puts you on that talk group and you can speak to them. You can also change the time slot and switch from DMR to FM with just a single key press. All this will be covered in more detail in the instructions for using the beep and voice feedback options. There are instructions for uploading the latest firmware and voice prompts, writing / creating a code plug, uploading the code plug, the layout of the GD77 keypad, and turning on and using the beep and voice feedback options of Open GD77. The instructions are available as PDF files and also as MP3 audio files, where as far as possible I'll try to leave pauses so that you can follow the instructions while listening to the audio, and for the PDF each new action is on a new line. To follow these instructions you only need to use the keyboard of your Windows machine and a screen reader which will warn you if you're making a typing error or other problem occurs. We've tried to make these instructions as robust as possible, but I cannot guarantee that they will work for every possible configuration of computer. If you are using something like JAWS or NVDA, please be careful because the screen reader may give you lots of hints and tips which I ask you to ignore, as if you deviate from the procedures by typing something different or missing out an action, then you will probably not successfully complete the procedure. I checked using Narrator as it's free and it worked just fine, and this screen reader is available on all Windows 10 machines. Please remember that these detailed instructions will only work with the complete package supplied with this documentation. If you're using other versions of the CPS, the firmware or voice prompts, then although some parts will work, you may encounter problems because of the differences. When in the instructions I say hit a key, it means just a single key. If you need to use more than one key, then I will say type. So for enter, I would say hit the enter key. For alternate plus S, I say type ALT plus S, as you don't hit ALT, but hold it while hitting S. Our first job is installing the very important CPS program, which we'll use to configure everything in our GD77. Set the focus to your desktop and type G for golf until you land on the GD77BH folder and then hit enter. Now hit the O for Oscar key as a shortcut to locate the Open GD77 CPS installer file and hit enter. If this is the first time you have run this program, then Windows may display a warning window that this is unknown software. If it does this, then tab once to get to the More Info, then hit enter, and then tab twice and hit enter again. You may be asked by Windows for permission to modify the system. If it does, then just type Alt plus Y to allow it. The program will start, and a new window will open with the focus on Next, so just hit enter. There will then be a new window again with the focus on Next, so just hit enter. Then there will be again a new window with the focus on Next, so just hit enter again. A new window opens with a tick box. If it is not already ticked, then hit space to tick the box and enable the program to create a shortcut on your desktop, and then hit enter. And on the next window, just hit enter to install the CPS program. After a short delay, the finished window will open, so then just hit enter. This will start the CPS program, but we don't want to use it at this time, so hold the alternate key and hit F4, followed by tab, and then hold the alternate key and hit F4 again, and you're all finished for the moment. When you're ready to upload the firmware to your GD77, continue with to firmware PDF or to firmware MP3. Have fun and enjoy using your GD77. Open GD77 instructions versions 2.0, 8th of the 6th, 2020. Uploading the Open GD77 firmware and voice prompts. Pull down the rubber cover on the right hand side of the radio with your fingertip to give access to the mic and earphone sockets. Then plug the GD77 cable. Do not use an MD380 cable, which looks the same but it will not work, into the mic and earphone sockets of the GD77. Plug the USB end of the cable into a USB port on your computer. On the left hand side of the radio, hold the bottom two buttons called SK1 and SK2 below the long PTT button depressed at the same time. and turn on the GD77. You should hear a burble from Windows as it recognises the device, but the screen on the GD77 will remain blank. Now on your computer, move the focus to your desktop and hit O for Oscar until you find the Open GD77 CPS shortcut and hit Enter to start it. Type Alt plus E for Echo. Now hit F for Foxtrot. You are now on the list item for Firmware Loader, so hit Enter. A window opens, allowing you to choose which model of DMR handy you want to upload to. The GD77 is the default, so just hit Tab twice, and then hit Enter. A standard Windows Explorer window will open with the focus on the file name edit field. Only if you have uploaded firmware before with this program, then hold the Shift key and hit Tab, and then Enter, and then go down the instructions to the Continue Uploading Firmware section below. However, if this is the first time you have uploaded firmware with the program, then Windows Explorer will be sitting on your PC Documents folder, which is not where your firmware file is located. It is in the Desktop folder. So type Alt plus cursor up, then Shift plus Tab, followed by D until you reach Desktop, probably 2 Ds, but it could be more, and then hit Enter. You should now be on the GD77BH folder. If not, then use the cursor up and down keys to locate it. Once you've found it, then hit Enter. Continue uploading firmware. You should be focused on the FWGD77 file, that's Foxtrot Whiskey Golf Delta 77. If not, use the cursor up and down keys to find it. Once you've found it, then hit Enter. The uploading of the firmware will start automatically and takes less than a minute. Once the upload is finished, there will be a tone from the CPS program and a new window saying Firmware Update Complete will open, and you are focused on the OK button. Just hit Enter, and a new window will open, and you are focused on the Close button. So just hit Enter. Now turn off the GD77, but leave it connected to the computer, and then switch it back on without, and it's very important, without pressing any of the buttons on the left-hand side of the radio. We are going to select and upload an audio package of voice prompts. Type Alt plus E for Echo, and then hit O for Oscar, and you are on the list item for Open GD77 support. Hit the Enter key, and you have a new window, Open GD77 support, and you are focused on the Restore EEPROM button. Hit the cursor down 5 times, and you should be focused on Write Voice Prompts. So now hit Enter. A standard Windows Explorer window will open, and the focus is on the file name element. So now you have to make a voice. If you'd like a male voice, then type Voice M, Victor, Oscar, India, Charlie, Echo, Mike. If you'd prefer a female voice, then type Voice F, Victor, Oscar, India, Charlie, Echo, Foxtrot. And then hit Enter, and the writing of the voice prompts to the GD77 would automatically begin. Remember that these instructions try to keep everything as straightforward as possible. So if you want to load a different voice prompt file for maybe a different language, you will have to navigate to it on your computer and select it before hitting Enter. When the upload is finished, the computer will give a tone and you will be on a new window focused on the Close button. So just hit Enter. We are now finished with the CPS program for now, so type Alt plus F4. A new window will open asking if you want to save the code plug, and you are focused on the Yes button. Hit Tab to move to the No button and hit Enter. Turn off your GD77, unplug the cable from the GD77 and the computer. Turn on your GD77 and you're ready to go, provided you have a code plug installed. If not, then go to section 3, creating a code plug PDF, or section 3, creating a code plug MP3. The instructions for creating and uploading a code plug. Open GD77 instructions by Ian Spencer, DJ0HF version 2.0, 8th of the 6th, 2020. Creating a code plug for the GD77. With these instructions, I want to help you create a code plug for your GD77. We're going to create a basic code plug, but it will have everything in it that you will normally need. But before we begin, it's important to have everything ready that you're going to need to put into the code plug. Firstly, your call sign and DMR ID. There will be one channel for each repeater or hotspot you want to include in the code plug. So, for each repeater or hotspot, you'll need the transmit and the receive frequencies. The color code for each repeater. For a hotspot, this will normally be color code 1. You'd also have to set the default time slot for each repeater or hotspot. For a hotspot, it will normally be TS2, and you can normally also use this for most repeaters as it's only the default, and you can always select the other time slot using the keypad of the GD77. And finally, a default talk group, again not critical, as you can change it using the GD77 keypad. I recommend TG9, which is already in the default code plug, which we load at the start. You'll also have to decide which talk groups you want to put in the code plug. The default code plug you are modifying already has one talk group configured, TG9 local. Which additional talk groups you choose to include is up to you. But as a suggestion, if you live in the UK, talk group 2350, the UK national talk group, and then talk group 2351, talk group 2352, and talk group 2353, the three main UK chat talk groups, and perhaps one of the local talk groups for Scotland, north of England, etc., depending on where you live. Talk group 91 for the worldwide talk group. And as a blind ham, you might want to include talk group 31679, the blind ham talk group. And for lots of activity, provided you are on the Brandmeister network, talk group 23526. The HubNet talk group is usually very busy, but I don't think it's available on DMR Plus or Phoenix networks. If you're using a hotspot, then you don't have a problem, because you can choose to connect to any of the networks that you want. Speech quality on HubNet varies greatly, simply because people are being transcoded onto it from many different sources, including older FM repeaters, Echolink and many others. But as I say, you will hear lots of activity. So let's get down to creating your own personal code plug. Set the focus to your desktop and type O for Oscar until you find your Open GD77 CPS shortcut on the desktop, and hit enter to start the program running. Hold the alternate key and type F for Foxtrot. And then cursor down twice and you will be focused on the Open menu element. Type default into the edit field. That's Delta Echo Foxtrot Alpha Uniform Lima Tango. And then hit enter. Hold the alternate key and hit S for Sierra, and the settings menu will open. Now hit G for Golf, and a new window will open, and the focus will be on radio name, which at the moment contains GD77. Type your call sign. Remember to use capitals for the letters. And then hit Tab. The focus is now on radio ID, which contains 000001. Type your DMR ID. Then close this window by holding the Control key and hitting F4. Hold the alternate key and hit S for Sierra, and the settings menu will open. Hit C for Charlie and you are on contact. Then hit enter, followed by cursor down once. You are now on digital contacts, so hit enter. The contact window will open with the list of contacts. At the moment the list only has one contact in it, talk group 9, so hit tab to change the focus to the add button. Now hit enter a number of times for the number of talk groups you want to configure. So for example, if you decided to add 4 talk groups, then hit the enter key 4 times and 4 contacts will be added to the list for you to modify. If you only want to add 3 talk groups, then only hit enter 3 times. It's up to you how many talk groups you want to add to the list. Now hit tab twice and you'll be on line 0 of the list. That's the line for the first contact, which is already configured as talk group 9. So hit cursor down to move to the second line. And then hit the space bar to open the digital contact window, and the focus will be on name. Now type the name you want to give this contact, for example TG2350. Then hit tab to change the focus to the call ID and type the talk group number, in this example 2350. And then hold the control key and hit F4 to close the window, and this puts you back on line 0 of the contact list. To modify the third contact in the list, you will need to hit cursor down twice and then the space bar. And after modifying the third contact in the same way, when you are back at the contact list, you will need to hit the cursor down 3 times to modify the fourth contact in the list, and so on until you have set up all of your contacts. Then, while on the contact list, hold the control key and hit F4 to close the window. Now hold the alternate key and hit S for Sierra. And then T for Tango twice to get to talk group lists. And then hit enter. You are now on the talk group list window and the focus is on name. Please leave this as TG list 1. And we're now going to move the contacts you created into the TG list. So now hit tab, which will move you to the add button. The first contact, that is TG9, is already in the list. So now hit enter for each contact you want to add. So for example, if you added 4 contacts, then hit the enter key 4 times, or if it was 3 contacts, then 3 times. Hold the control key and hit F4 and you are done. The list is complete. Remember, this has created a basic number of talk groups for you to have in your code plug. If at a later date you want to add contacts or talk groups, then you can repeat this procedure. But remember, when you are on the contact list, cursor down the correct number of times to get to your new entries, so that you can enter the talk group name and number and then add them to the talk group list. Now we need to create your channels, and you'll need one for each repeater or hotspot you want to use, as described earlier. Hold the alternate key and hit S for Sierra. And now hit C for Charlie twice, and you should be on the channels list. And there is only one channel in the list, but unlike the contacts and talk groups, it is not pre-configured, so you'll need to modify it as the first channel, that is repeater or hotspot, you want to use. Now hit enter and a new window will open. Now hit tab and you're now focused on the add button. Hit enter once for each channel you want to add. So if you decided on 4 channels, hit it 3 times, as you already have one channel in the list. Once you've done this, hit Tab and you'll be on the first channel in your list. So to set it up for your repeater or hotspot, hit space and a new window will appear. Hit Tab and you are on the first dialog box and it says either analog or digital. So if necessary, use the cursor up and down keys to change to the mode you want, analog or digital, that's DMR. Now hit Tab and you are on the name edit field. So type the name you want to give this channel with a maximum of 16 characters. Then hit Tab 3 times and you are on the receive frequency. So type the receive frequency for this channel in the form 3 digits for the megahertz, then a point or full stop, and then up to 5 digits for the kilohertz stroke hertz. But you don't have to type 5 digits. So for example, 434.1 megahertz, you would type 434, hit the full stop, and then just type the 1. Then follow it with a tab to the next field. Don't worry if you get an error message saying receive and transmit on different bands, as we haven't set the transmit yet. But you are now on the transmit frequency edit field, so type the transmit frequency just as you did for receive. If you're using a simplex hotspot, then it will be the same as the receive frequency. Then hit Tab and you're on the power setting, which is set to high. For hotspot, hit the up arrow key to set it to low. But you can always change it on the radio later. If you're setting up an Analogue FM channel, then skip down these instructions to the analog section. If it's a digital DMR channel, then hit Tab exactly 11 times to skip over the fields we don't want to change. And you should be on repeater slot, which is the same thing as time slot. Normally it is at 1, but hit cursor down to change to time slot 2. Remember, you can always select which time slot you want to use later with one key press on the GD77 keypad. So I recommend setting all channels to TS2. Now tab once to get to TG list, and the name of the list is TG list 1, which is correct. And you don't need to change it. Now hit tab to the color code dialog field, and then hit cursor up till you reach the color code you want. So for example, if you want color code 1, just hit the up cursor once. Now hold the control key and hit F4 to close this window. And then hit the up cursor to put you back on channel 1. Next channel. Now for the second channel, hit the down arrow to move to the second channel, and then hit space and modify it just as before for your second repeater or hotspot. And then of course for the third channel you'll need to hit the down cursor twice, and so on until you've configured all of your channels. Once you've done this, then hold the control key and hit F4 and you're finished with setting up all your channels. Analog channel. If you're setting up an analog channel, then you will be asked for different information. So you need to tab 12 times to skip over the information we don't want to change. And you should now be on the dialog box for receive tone for the CT, CSS or DCS tone. The default is none, so if your FM repeater uses sub-audible tone, then hold the alternate key and hit the cursor up to get to the list. And use the down arrow key to select the one you want. Please don't try to use a shortcut to get to the tone, or it won't be saved properly. Once you have found the tone, then hit enter. If you left the received tone on none, then hit tab twice. If you selected a received tone, then hit tab once, and it will now be on transmit tone. If you want to transmit a tone for this repeater, then as for receive tone, hold the alternate key and hit cursor up. And then select it with the cursor up and down keys just as for the receive tone, and hit enter. Now you're finished, so hold the control key and hit F4 to close the channel information window just as you did for digital channel, and go back up to the instructions next channel. Now you're finished with creating all your channels, but you need to put all of them into a zone. So hold the control key and hit F4 to finish this section. Now hold the alternate key and hit S for Sierra. Now hit Z for Zulu to open the zones. Then hit cursor down once to get to the zone list. Now hit enter and a new zone list window will open. Hit tab once to get to the add button. And then hit enter once for each channel you have created. So if you now have 4 channels, then hit enter 4 times. Now you're done, so hold the control key and hit F4 to close the window. Congratulations, your first code plug is complete, and we just have to save it. So hold the alternate key and hit F for Foxtrot. Now hit S for Sierra, and that's to save, and a new window will open in the Windows Explorer. It will already be pointing to your GD77BH folder and the name, so just type a new name into the edit field, perhaps your call sign or something similar as the name of your code plug, and hit enter. If this code plug already exists, you will get a warning asking if you want to overwrite it, so just hold the alternate key and hit Y for Yankee. Now hold the alternate key and hit F4 to close the CPS program, and a window will open asking if you want to save your code plug before exiting. And as it's the code plug you've just saved, it doesn't matter whether you just hit enter or hold the control key and hit N for November if you want to say no. Now you're ready to go on to the procedure for uploading your code plug. Congratulations, you have created your first code plug. I asked you here to close the CPS program before beginning uploading your code plug, because it's important that you connect your GD77 in the correct way as described in uploading your code plug before restarting the CPS program. Open GD77 instructions by Ian Spencer, DJ0HF, version 2.0, 8th of the 6th, 2020, uploading your code plug to the GD77. First, use your fingertip to pull down the rubber cover on the right-hand side of the radio to expose the mic and earphone sockets. Plug one end of the programming cable into the mic and earphone sockets, and the other end into a USB port on your computer. Then turn the GD77 on in the normal way, as if you were going to use it. Set the focus to your desktop and type O for Oscar until you find the Open GD77 CPS shortcut, and then hit enter. The CPS program will start automatically and retrieve the last code plug you created, so you don't have to search for it. Hold the control key and hit W for whiskey, and a new window will open asking if you want to overwrite the code plug, and you are on the yes button, so hit enter because you want to upload the code plug. The writing of the code plug will automatically start. Generally it takes about 20 or 30 seconds, and when finished my computer gives a verbal sound. If unsure, wait a couple of minutes. Now hold the alternate key and hit F4, and a new window will open asking if you want to save the code plug before exiting. You are on the yes button, and you can either hit enter to save and exit, or tab to the no field and hit enter to exit without saving. You can now turn off the radio and disconnect it from the computer. Your code plug is now in the GD77 and ready for use. Open GD77 Instructions, version 2.0, 8th of the 6th, 2020. Keypad Layout. The keypad is directly below the display, so in the lower third of the front panel. It has 5 rows of buttons vertically. Starting on the top row at the left, the first button is the green OK or Menu button. To the right of that is the up arrow key, and to the right the red Cancel button. So only 3 buttons on the top row. On the second row down, the left-hand button is the left arrow key, and to the right of that the down arrow key, and at the far right the right arrow key. So again in this row just 3 buttons. The next 3 rows are the alphanumeric keypad and special symbols, though we are only interested in using the numbers and special keys here to enter things like talk groups, etc. So the third row from the left is 1, then 2, then 3, then star or asterisk. The row below that is 4, then 5, then 6 and 0. And the final row at the bottom is 7, then 8, then 9 and then the hash key. On the left hand side of the radio are 3 push buttons. The top double length button is the PTT. Below that is the button SK1 and below that the blue button SK2. On the top of the radio is the volume control with on-off switch and also an orange button with a number of uses, but it will only be usable when we have more voice prompts and isn't important for the basic operation of the radio. Open GD77 Instructions by Ian Spencer, DJ0HF, version 2.0, 8th of the 6th, 2020. Turning on the voice and beep function in the GD77. Turn the GD77 on. Normally, if voice prompts have been uploaded to your GD77, then voice will be automatically enabled. But in case you want to enable it manually or turn it off, then you can press the green OK button. That's the button which is top left on the keypad. Press the up arrow 4 times. That's the button to the right of the OK button. Press the green button. Press the up arrow once. And there are 3 options which can be reached using the left and right cursor keys. They are None, Beep and Voice. Select the one you want and then press the green OK/Menu button. That's the top left button on the keypad. If you just want to exit without saving, then press the red Cancel button. That's on the top right of the keypad. This returns you to the main menu level, and so hit the red Cancel button again to exit the menus. Using the voice prompts. When you turn on the radio, you should be in your home zone, as you only created one zone in the code plug, so you don't have to worry about selecting a zone. Whenever you change the channel using the up arrow, that's top row middle button, or down arrow, second row middle button, on the keypad, you can voice the channel name by hitting SK1 on the side of the radio. That's the black button directly below the PTT. If you're not changing the channel but just want to know what channel the radio is on, then hit the up arrow, that goes up 1 channel, then the down arrow, down 1 channel to return to the original channel, and then hit SK1. A similar system is used for talk groups. If you hit the right arrow, second row right hand button, you will go up 1 entry in the talk group list, and if you hit the left arrow, second row left hand button, you will go down 1 entry in the talk group list. Hitting SK1 will announce the talk group. Pressing the green menu button, that's the top left button on the keypad, will announce menu and zones, as you are on the zones entry in the menu. Hit the up arrow button on the keypad and each new menu item will be announced each time you hit the up arrow. To hear items in this menu, hit the green OK/Menu button again, and you are taken to the second level and can use the up and down arrow keys to go through the items and the left and right arrow keys to change them. Or if they are numeric values, use the keypad. If you enter a numeric value, use the green OK/Menu button to confirm the entry. Almost all of the items are voiced. I think that only a couple of things are there which are not voiced yet. When you have finished making changes, press the green OK stroke menu button to store the new values, or the red cancel button to exit without saving. The GD77 has two modes of operation, channel mode and VFO mode. Normally you're in channel mode, but if you want to switch to VFO mode, then press the red cancel button, top right on the keypad. And if you press SK1 in VFO mode, it will announce the receive and transmit frequencies stored in VFOA. If they are the same, then just the frequency will be announced, and just once. If they're different, a repeater, then both will be announced with the words receive and transmit in front of them. To change the receive frequency, just type a new frequency on the keypad. After you enter the last digit, the frequency will be read back to you. So if you want to enter 434.1, then enter 434.10000. If the original receive and transmit frequencies were different, then Open GD77 will assume you're using a repeater and will also alter the transmit frequency with the same frequency split. If you want to alter just the transmit frequency, then while in VFO mode, just hold the blue SK2, that's the bottom button on the left hand side of the radio, and press cursor down. Now you can enter a frequency just as for the receive, and you've changed the transmit frequency. Using the beep function. Pressing the up arrow key will take you up through the channels you configured for this zone, and pressing the down arrow key will take you down through the list of channels. Each time you press a key it will beep, and when you reach the first channel in the list it will beep with a higher tone to tell you that you are on the first channel. You can then press the up arrow key a number of times to reach the channel, repeater or hotspot that you want to use. Selecting a talk group works in the same way, using the left and right arrows, allowing you to find the first talk group and then click the right arrow key until you reach the talk group you want to use. Pressing the PTT for half a second or so will now select that talk group in your hotspot or on the repeater, and you can begin using it. But be careful that someone is not already on using the repeater. Remember, a repeater will automatically deselect the talk group if you don't use it for 10 or 15 minutes or so. A hotspot will stay connected to that group until you select another, as it's your own personal repeater. If you hit the star or asterisk key, it will toggle between time slot 1 and time slot 2, with a high beep for time slot 1 and a low beep for time slot 2. If you hold the blue SK2 button, that's the lowest button on the left hand side of the radio, and hit the star or asterisk, then the GD77 will toggle between DMR and narrowband FM, with a high tone for DMR and a low tone for narrowband FM. If you hold the SK2 button and hit cursor left, then you can reduce the power from maximum to a minimum of 50 milliwatts in a number of steps. Each change produces a low beep, but when you reach 50 milliwatts there is a high beep. 50 milliwatts is ideal for use with a hotspot. Holding SK2 and hitting the right cursor button increases the power in steps from 50 milliwatts to 250 milliwatts to 500 milliwatts to 1 watt, then 2 watts, 3 watts, 4 watts, and the highest power 5 watts. A few other interesting features. Although not essential, you might want to reduce the display brightness to 10% to extend the battery life. However, it doesn't save all that much. Hit the green menu button, that's the top left button on the keypad, then hit the up arrow 3 times to take you to the display settings. The display brightness is set to 100%. Hit the cursor left button 9 times to set the brightness to 10%. Hit the green menu button again to confirm and you're done. Open GD77 has many functions, too many to cover here, but here are a few. Unless you set up filters, your GD77 is always listening in promiscuous mode. That means if you are listening to a repeater, you will hear everything that repeater is transmitting, whichever talk group it's on. This means, for example, if you have your GD77 on talk group 91, and the repeater is working at the moment on talk group 2350, then you will hear anyone on the repeater, but if you transmit, you will transmit on talk group 91, and they won't hear you, and you'll switch the repeater to talk group 91. So if you hear someone and want to work them, if you hit the blue SK2 button, that's the bottom button on the left hand side, while someone is talking, it will put your GD77 on their talk group, and then when you transmit they will hear you. If you're using a hotspot, normally it will only be monitoring one talk group, though it is possible to configure a hotspot to monitor more than one. If you change the talk group on your GD77, remember to transmit for around half a second to your hotspot to move it to the same talk group. If you want to go to a reflector rather than a talk group, which you may want to do if you're using DMR Plus or the Phoenix networks, then you can enter it in the same way as for a talk group, but enter a number between 4000 and 5000. If you want to make a private call, then press the hash key twice and enter the DMR ID of the person you want to speak to, and then press the green OK button. Now you can talk to that person if they're on the network. To return to normal talk group mode, just press the right or left arrow key to select a talk group. If you would like to loan your GD77 to a friend, if you type hash 3 times, that's the bottom right key on the keypad, and then hold the SK1 key just below the PTT and hit the hash key again, you get the DMR ID on the screen and can enter a new DMR ID from the keypad. If you confirm with the green OK stroke menu button, that's the top left button on the keypad, then it will only remain in operation until you power off the radio, and then it will revert back to the original